I call to order this regular select board meeting for Thursday, September 28th, 2023. It is 6 p.m. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
I think, did we want to, we just wanted to mention the speed signs that came in. I don't know if we wanted to.
Probably could do that under your report, can't we?
Yeah, sure.
You can add that.
Just, they came in and I'm sure we'll be anxious to get them up before you guys meet again. So we can maybe just have a brief discussion about where we're thinking, which is in line with what we've talked about before, but just to pin it down.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to the sheriff and got some feedback from him too. Okay.
Good.
What about the trees? About the tree?
Yeah, the emergency tree. There's a couple of emergency trees that are some hangers that Russ was talking about.
Something we can just press. It's quick. Nothing.
Just to kind of go over it, you know, what the protocol is.
What our thoughts are.
Is that all right?
That's fine with me.
Okay, so we put that put the trees after winter salt,
Mm-hmm.
and then the speed signs.
That'd be good.
I don't see anyone on for public comment.
I do not. Seeing none, hearing nobody speak up, we will move on to the consent agenda, which is first on is Essex Rescue budget request.
So I'll just say that Colleen had sent, Colleen Ballard from the executive director of Essex Rescue sent the budget request and also their annual report. Bob has been kind of liaison between Essex Rescue and the town of Underhill, and
We've
take it away.
Yeah, so we've got the request from them. We have been engaged with the 5 communities that make up the coverage area that Essex Rescue provides. We are exploring, I guess that would be a good word, the possibilities of perhaps a contract, because none of the municipalities have a contract for service for Essex Rescue. So we're exploring that and continue to try to meet on a routine basis. And once we have more information, I'd be happy to come back and share that with you. But right now we have no contract, and we have a budget request from Essex Rescue, and it's up 3% from last year. So here we are.
Have they followed through in reformatting their board so that it includes people from the towns that they service?
Not that I'm aware of, and I know that there are, I believe, a couple vacancies on their board. And that's still something that we need to explore, that I believe that it would be good for their organization, as well as the 5 communities, that they have some at-large people serve on that board, so that I just think it would be good to have people that are not necessarily in the EMS world, that are, you know, from maybe a different line of work altogether, to keep them grounded. Not that they're out of control or anything like that. I don't want to give the wrong impression, but I do think it's important that they have a diverse board of trustees that's engaged. I think that's healthy for any organization. So,
Indeed.
I think that there's a meeting scheduled for is it the 30th or no?
I don't have that. I don't know when they have.
Not the 30th, but I think there's a.
Not sure when the next.
Bob showed up at the last meeting that they planned to have, but
I think there's one on the 20th
of October.
There's one on the 20th that I have on here, but aside from that, I'm not. See, there may be one with the town of Essex coming up, but I don't have that readily available at this time. I can send you all a note when I find that out.
Yeah, well, I think they confirmed the date, but the last one Bob attended, it was only you and Greg.
Greg and I, yeah, and we're exploring, there is a document, NFPA is the National Fire Protection Association. They have guidelines and standards that are nationwide standards that municipalities and fire departments across the country recognize and utilize. And there may be some information in some of those codes and standards that may be of a benefit to the municipalities to consider if we are in fact going to try to obtain or go towards having a contract with Essex Rescue.
It's been a handshake deal for all these years,
Mhm.
all the municipalities, which is kind of unheard of, I think.
I mean, just to give more reference, I mean, the town of Underhill and I believe the town of Jericho have a contract with the fire department, and we sign a contract with the sheriff's office when, we hire them to do what they do for us. So, but we have nothing when it comes to the EMS side, and I think that, it's a missed opportunity that we should consider. And, once we have something that we think that, is appropriate, we can come back and, vet it, and maybe potentially, go through some legal advice through either the League of Cities and Towns, or maybe the 5 communities would want to share, having an attorney type review it and see if it's something that all 5 communities can kind of, join in and, work under one contract instead of having 5 different communities having 5 separate contracts. So we're right now it's in the exploratory stage. I don't know if it's even reasonable to think that we would have something before town meeting. This might be a year out or so before we have something that would be, really something to, really sink our teeth into and look at. But right now it's really exploratory.
So our acceptance of their budget and our commitment to it is not hinged on this contract thing, because we have to commit to their budget.
We need to, I feel we need to provide EMS coverage for the citizens and residents of the town of Underhill and the guests that come here and everything like that. So we need to support this EMS agency. What that looks like, going forward, I believe that we're always going to support someone. Right now, Essex Rescue is the person that we're engaged with. And I'm not against staying with Essex Rescue, but I do think that we should have something more spelled out as far as, all the particulars are spelled out as far as, are we going to have 2 ambulances? Is that the expectation? Or are we going to have 1 ambulance that's going to be provided for 5 different communities? Is that reasonable? And if we want to make sure there's always 2 ambulances available, Monday, every day of the week, then, I think it's fair to have that conversation with Colleen and with Essex Rescue, because if they're not budgeting that, then they need to look at, that budget so that they can make sure that they're providing that type of coverage for everyone. Because there's a lot of times where we have, Essex and Essex Junction have, condensed elderly housing, and we do not have that in the town of Underhill. So there are times when they are constantly running people from, Carmichael Street in Essex to, the hospital. And, when they're transporting these folks to the hospital, and then someone has a heart attack up on the Pleasant Valley Road, it can take time for them to have to come and, help our folks. Thank goodness we have our first response, but, we are committed to Essex Rescue. A lot of these other communities have other agencies that they rely upon. Westford has Fairfax Rescue and Essex Rescue. Jericho has Richmond Rescue and Essex Rescue. Essex has, Essex and, St. Michael's, and I believe the Junction has, them as well. We can benefit from having, other agencies, but right now we are only committed to Essex Rescue. We don't have a relationship per se with Cambridge or Richmond. If in the matrix of when calls happen, you may see other agencies come into Underhill, but we are not supporting them financially in any type of budget. You know, there's no money from the town of Underhill going to Richmond Rescue or Cambridge Rescue or Fairfax Rescue or any of these other EMS partners around us. You know, we are investing all of our assets into Essex Rescue, and that may be something that we want to think about is like, do we want to have, you know, everyone relies upon these EMS agencies. Do we want to consider, you know, supporting another ambulance so that in the event that they are tied up and they are transporting someone, you know, in Essex, that, you know, we make sure that, you know, this other EMS agency has the right amount of resources to respond when we call for one of our citizens needs help. So a lot of moving pieces, and I think that that's the next step that we're talking about as a group is a contract, is, you know, spell those types of things out and then work with, you know, obviously Essex Rescue with that when the appropriate time comes.
Mm-hmm.
I could just read for the record what their, so they basically said in their request that our rates for services will increase 3% to assist with standard inflation. So the fiscal year 2025 rate for service will be $18.54 per capita. So if we look at the population of Underhill, it is 3129 based on their 2020 census. So that in turn makes the request $58,012. So I don't think it's anything you have to recognize or accept tonight. It probably makes sense to do that at a later date after Bob has more information. But I just wanted to put it on, get it on the agenda since we had it here. And if you have any questions, I would suggest either just send them to me and I can forward them to Bob, or that'd probably be the best protocol, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Good. Anything else on that?
For me,
I don't have any questions at this time. So we want to talk about that dump truck lease options. We are ahead of schedule by a bit, but hopefully nobody's laying in the weeds to want to talk about that. We can revisit it if somebody shows up at 6:35.
Sure.
But I think that we should go ahead with that
You
review.
want to just follow up that we met Kurt from the infrastructure committee and Jennifer and Sherry and myself and Russ, we all met Monday morning, kind of discussed it. If you want to just fill people in.
So I got the census from the last select board meeting that the board seemed interested in the idea.
Mhm.
I did attend the infrastructure committee meeting on the following Monday night. There was some lengthy discussion about the truck, and then it turned into lengthy discussion about the whole plan of equipment replacement. So it went quite a while, and then it got cut short because it was going too long, and they decided to table it until the next meeting. But I think the biggest obstacle that we had to jump through was this lease not being a capital expense. And then it was kind of taken by the folks that it was a capital expense, or at least Kurt. Anyways, the others didn't really chime in too much in the discussion. But having a discussion here at the town office, like Brad just said, it went very well, I thought, and everybody seemed to be on board at that point with a lease being a lease and not a capital expenditure. So Sherry had reached out to another leasing company in Vermont. I think they're out of South Hero, she mentioned today. She's been in contact with them, but don't have any final proposal from them, which is fine, because at this point we're not really at that point of where we're going to get the money from or who we're going to lease through. It would be the fact of securing the truck, and so it would be our truck when it becomes available. I did talk with Dan today from Allegiance. He said that their new truck is built. It's not here yet. It should be here within a week or so. It should be here in Vermont. And Viking's plan is to start it towards the end of October, which they have about a 4 to 5 week lead time turnaround on building a truck. So, if everything goes smoothly and no hiccups somewhere, I would say we could have the truck probably late November to middle December.
Okay.
That time frame, which, the majority of our snow comes after that anyway. So.
Well, we won't need to do much of anything to it other than maybe re-letter it or whatever to.
Correct. The lease terms, when they take it back in, it has to be, 50% tires and 50% brakes and that stuff. So the only thing that we may want to do is put some new tires on it, something like that. So they're new.
Do we have tires?
We have tires. Yeah. Yeah, we got tires already. So as far as any other expenditures, I think the radio that's in that 2015 is fine. So that could be just, you'll have an expense of moving the radio from one truck to another, lettering. We might, a few little odds and ends we might do to make it an Underhill thing, or the driver or whatever might make a few changes or whatever. But nothing, I don't foresee anything major. No.
Well, I'd like to move that we move forward with this lease option. I think it's the right thing to do and makes a lot of sense to me on many levels. So I'd like to, and I commend Russ and for thinking about this and presenting this the way he did. And so I would like to move that the town move forward towards leasing this truck.
I'll second that. Any other discussion?
Yeah, this is Patty. Russ, can you share a little bit more about the infrastructure committee's reaction to the truck? In your email, it sounded as if they were not supportive. Do I have that right?
I should say that they weren't all supportive, because really the only one that brought it, Kurt was the one who mostly talked about it. And basically, I don't think he understood why we need or want to replace the current truck to this truck. So I've explained to them as well the same thing I explained to you folks at the select board meeting. And it just went from, and he couldn't, it seemed to think that he couldn't get it through that it wasn't going to be a capital expense or capital expense. So it was going to change our equipment,
10-year outlook.
our 10-year outlook. But after some discussion about a lease is not a capital expenditure, and that seemed to smooth out after that. And then it just went into more communication about the whole equipment of replacing and suggesting of lengthening our term of trading vehicles and things like that, which, as we all know, I'm not a huge fan of going longer on our equipment versus shortening it up some. So we didn't go any further after that because it was more time frame that we on their schedule that they didn't want to continue the discussion any further, and they wanted more information on the lease and so on, which is why Kurt met with us all on Monday morning here at the office, so he could hear it from Sherry and Jennifer and Brad and myself as a group, and thought the meeting went very well.
It did.
So that was a follow-up meeting to the infrastructure.
Correct.
That's good that you had that. And you figured out together that not being a capital expense, it's not an end around the voters.
Right.
It's a lease option. So we're not adding to the fleet.
Correct.
Kind of under the table.
Correct.
You're not adding to the 10-year outlook, so it's really not going to change the 10-year outlook. It's just a budget increase to the highway. It's basically like you're renting this vehicle.
Right.
And then you're going to turn it back in 3 years.
Well, and it's set up the way that, the road crew wants it set up, where this truck is kind of antiquated. So this kind of serves, I think, that purpose of, having something that, having someone new coming into the road crew, if they're used to having it set up. And I think it makes a lot of sense to have the product being spread in front of the tires, instead of behind when you're plowing that, Underhill's not flat. It's not like Charlotte, type of thing. We have a lot more hills and mountains that we need to climb. And I take that seriously, living on Maple Ridge, and, respect that the hard jobs that our road crew has to do. So anything that we can do to try to limit them going off the road, I'm all for.
So I think maybe the motion should be to, like, if you're gonna, would be to accept the lease proposal and then authorize Sherry to keep exploring finance options.
Well, I think once we have the numbers figured out, then you can come back and do all that.
Okay.
I think there's still some things that are kind of up in the air, but I think we're giving the direction that the motion is for the board to give direction, like we want to pursue this, and then come back with hard numbers on, where are we going to get the money from or whatever for this lease, and then present that, and then I think we can seal it at that time.
Right. We just want to give Russ the go-ahead
To either stop or keep going, you're almost there type of thing. It's just now a matter of, finishing up the loose ends or tying up the loose ends.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I'm looking at this.
Yeah, the only thing is you do have to authorize the treasurer just to explore finance options, that's all. But, which she's doing anyway, so, okay.
We haven't authorized her to,
No,
get the,
not to-
I mean, but I'm assuming like the next time we meet, we could certainly do that, but.
Right, but if we want to get really technical, I'm not even sure if she can be exploring finance options without some sort of authority. But I think maybe we're getting hung up on it.
Maybe I'll make an amendment and say like to include that the treasurer explore all financial options available to lease this truck.
Yeah.
I'll second that amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment? Just the amendment?
Aye.
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 The amendment carries 3-0. Back to the motion. All in favor of the exercising the lease option on this truck and informing Peachum of that? Signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you. So we're just waiting for numbers to come back from Sherry, and then I'm expecting that once we have that, then we can vote, either have a special meeting if it has to be done right off, or a regular scheduled meeting to be determined coming up whenever you get the
We've got
information.
some time.
It can be done at a regular meeting, so we'll have a lease contract for you to consider, and then you can authorize it or not.
Make it official.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got both things done. The lease
Well, that was tough.
and the treasurer authorized.
Next item is a 23, I'm sorry, Bob, do you have something? 23-24 salt quote. I did include the quote that Russ got from Cargill, and then typically in the past I've helped Nate with this before. We reached out to American Rock Salt, who we used to buy our salt from. They lost their stockyard here in Vermont, so it gets trucked in from a long ways. But I believe the Cargill quote was 88 a ton. 88 a ton. Russ put 600 ton on.
Is what we've had in the.
Right, but if you take 88 and multiply it by 600, that comes up to 52.8, I think, and we have 52 in the budget, so it's right. You're reserving 300 ton or 600 tons.
I guess the only question I have, well, you want a motion to buy our salt from Cargill?
I just want to just follow up with it. So I got the American Rock Salt quote, and I forwarded it through us. It's 105 a ton. So it's kind of no brainer.
Do we, I know that we talked, I guess, before we make a motion, I know that we have purchased some from both. In the event that one of them can't deliver or there becomes a problem with supply chains or whatever, that we still have the option to go with the other one in the event that something happens on Cargill, whatever side of things. So I don't know if there's any sense in buying 100 tons
I never really
from
understood
one
why.
or whatever, or
Yeah.
if we just like, if there is a problem, then our fallback plan would be to engage the state to say like, because I'm imagining if Cargill goes down, like there's gonna be a lot of towns, because I think everybody gets their salt from Cargill. So it's just like, if the salt goes down, it's just like, well, there's gonna be a lot of towns that are gonna be scrambling. So
Yeah.
I just, that's my only concern is like, do we want to put all our eggs in one basket and just say we're all in with Cargill? And not that there's been a problem, it just,
I never quite understood why that happened, because if you're signing a contract with Cargill for 600 ton, they're gonna give you 600, up to 600 ton.
There's a contract with it again.
Right. So I'm just kind of just a little just perplexed why we did that. But I think we could, yeah, I think last year, you're right, we put in like 100 ton. They gave us a price here for 700 ton, which is what they did last year. I'd like to know, just understand why that would be necessary, but I get your point. I don't know.
I think the only point he's trying to make is if Cargill runs out of salt or they have a salt shortage, then we have something to fall back onto. But I haven't read that contract because of the price. I didn't even go any further with it because we just, we're going to go with Cargill probably. So I don't know if we go with 100 ton, we have to buy 100 ton from them, right?
No,
We don't have to?
Well, that was my impression of what, no, it gets our foot in the door, kind of like Bob said, with American Rock Salt. But I'd have to ask them for another quote for 100 ton. I was just trying to compare apples.
I don't know. I'm probably not as well versed as I should be. And I apologize. I know that there was some logic behind wanting to keep, two of them, on board so that if something was to go wrong, it's just like you would have that fallback. But I don't know if it's
pretty
necessary.
Self-explanatory why we would want to do that. And the other thing is, if Cargill is out of salt, then there's going to be a lot of other people out of salt.
So maybe this is just a suggestion, I don't know, but maybe if you approve the Cargill contract, and then maybe Russ, you could reach out to some of your counterparts around the state and see, is this what other people do?
Mm-hmm.
It just seems really odd to me why we always did that. But
there is another one out of Canada,
Compass.
That good friend of mine who's the road foreman in Hyde Park, they purchased from last year. They had a better price than Cargill last year, and they were phenomenal. He said, no problems at all. I mean, just perfect. However, this year their price went up, and they ended up signing a contract with Cargill. So he didn't mention anything to me about having two, but I could reach out to a few. I know plenty.
It wouldn't be too late. We could just, it's not like we could still reserve, we could come back next select board meeting with another contract from Rock Salt.
So do we want to, am I getting the consensus from you then that, go ahead and approve the 600 tons from Cargill now and then come back and talk to us more about other options?
Yeah. I'd like to secure that because that's going to be our main source. And then if we do find some other options to have as a secondary, then we can discuss that.
So we know where Cargill gets its salt?
Comes out of Shelburne. Not sure where. It all comes from a big mine out in the Midwest somewhere on train. But the train station, it comes right into Shelburne, and that's where they stockpile it.
Detroit.
Probably Detroit.
Yeah. But Compass comes from, they're a Canadian company, so it has to come across the border. And we did get a price from them last year. It was very high. And maybe Hyde Park got it a little better because they were closer.
Where they're located possibly.
I think so. They used kind of a radius around what their supply was, and it was like $125 a ton.
Yeah, because our quote's a little bit less than what theirs is, just because of trucking.
Because we're closer to Shelburne than Hyde Park.
Maybe if you flew a Canadian flag out front, it'd be a little bit better.
Maybe.
I move that we go with the Cargill quote for 600 tons that was presented in the packet.
I'll second that. Further discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
And that contract is right there, Dan. I think I put a
Yes.
sticky next to it or something.
The motion carries 3-0.
Well, you're way ahead of schedule.
I know.
So where do I need to sign here?
Next page, maybe.
I think
Let's see, did I put a sticky there?
That's on that front page. Accepted your signature and your information's right
Yeah,
here.
I thought that was for them.
Just squiggle it and they won't know who's sitting there.
So it's 6:31. Do you want to talk about the tree thing, Russ?
Yeah, so we had Scott brought to my attention from traveling the valley of near John French's of some widowmakers, we'll call them, or some treetops that are broke and hanging and pose a hazard, I would say, to Pleasant Valley Road. And I know trees are a very important subject, and getting quotes and so on. And I reached out to Brad and asked him about if there's any kind of emergency, if we needed to contact somebody that we have a relationship with to come and remove a dangerous situation like that. You know, it's not a tree that needs to be cut because it's gonna fall. These are trees that are broke, and there's a couple. They're not a bunch of them. There's just two. Do we have any kind of policy that we can spend up to X amount of dollars for an emergency response to a tree like that? I do recall that, you know, in job description, that if there is an emergency situation, that, you know, as long as we have our backing of what we did and why we did, then everything should be smooth. But just wanted to bring it up tonight to see if what your guys' thoughts were of giving a approval for myself to make a call to on a limb or DJs or somebody to say, hey, we got some dangerous tops that are broke off and hanging on a main drag in Underhill. Can we get somebody out here to remove those? I want to be a little careful because maybe emergency responses cost more from a tree company to do that. But I also don't want to know about it and then have something happen, you know, have them fall on a car or somebody running or walking or riding a bike.
So I think in the budget, we have tree removal.
Oh, yeah.
So I would assume that stay within that line item of the budget for those types of situations. You know, and if we get closer towards the end of the year, you know, when you've got other projects that you want to have, you know, outside vendors coming in to deal with trees, then, you know, try to stay as close as you can within the budget. But if you have, you know, emergency situations come in, I would say that would go into that, under that line item. Then just stay within your line item.
I just didn't want to get, you know, well, why didn't you get, you know, 3 quotes or whatever. I just want some backing from you folks.
So I think the policy talks about like so much money, you know, before it has to go out to bid. You know?
Right, so it's $1,000, anything of 1,000 and more needs 3 bids, but I think where Russ is getting at is an unexpected emergency situation.
So in a situation, my understanding is that when a situation presents itself like that, that's not scheduled or planned, is that, you know, it would be incumbent on you to make contact with someone on the board, and I would start with the chair, if they're available, and just say, hey, this is the situation, are you good with us going forward with this? And
Mhm.
they'll either give you the thumbs up or thumbs down. And if the chair's not available, then, call Patty or I or whatever, and, whoever,
Right.
type of thing. And then we can send a note to the rest, whoever answers, I'm sure can send a note, to, the rest of the board saying like, just so everyone knows this is
Right.
what we're doing.
Okay.
And this is why.
That's, what we do for truck repairs,
Yeah.
because we don't anticipate those.
Right.
And I don't know that, they would charge more for an emergency.
I don't know.
If they come on a weekend, maybe,
Yeah.
but if it's,
Well, usually everybody's jamming busy usually, and so if they had to not go to this job to divert to come to us, maybe, I'm not saying they do charge more, but I just, and that's questions I can have, because I am gotta meet with,
and I'm sure consulting with Don Toby, can verify
Well, that's-
how long you can wait.
that's great you brought that up, because I did meet with Don yesterday. We went around to look at some other trees, and he thought it was a great idea of having, his idea was you could have up to, he said 5,000, but I don't think it needs to be that much of, emergency, like,
Right,
Like it's been
you
a-
just take a phone call,
right, exactly.
and that way it's above board and.
Yeah.
And,
Just communication.
sure.
And Russ, whatever entity you're pursuing for, quotes and arrangements for emergency, just make sure that there is a flagger, appropriate flagging staff available to deal with road traffic, and the cleanup of the trees is addressed.
And that the tree is in the right of way and not, on somebody else's property, because we have had
Right.
numerous problems of like when the tree does fall, then it takes out the hubble bush, and then we end up spending, $10,000 on replacing hubble bushes, when that was not part of the plan. So I would rather try to avoid any unnecessary.
It's still gonna be
expenses.
the three of us, like Russell will see the problem, I'll go out and kind of try to help with it right away, and Don will look at the tree, and
Right.
still keep the three of us.
Yeah.
Because we've, as everyone knows, we've had issues in the past, and like to keep things running smooth.
And the guideline is that, in terms of trees, that if it is outside of the right of way and it is a hazard tree that would come onto the road, that landowner, if we tell the landowner you have a hazard tree on your property, then the liability comes from him, or her.
Mhm.
And the landowner owns that. If we don't tell him and it falls, the liability's on us. So that's where our
That's good
anticipation
information. Thank you.
comes in play. So we can tell the landowner, but we wouldn't want to just
Excuse me.
go ahead and spend our money to cut the landowner's tree.
Yeah, those, we looked at, I showed you those.
Yeah, I could take a little closer look,
Yeah, they're right over the
the edge of the guardrail,
guardrail.
and it's on a steep embankment, it's not, be very different from somebody's yard.
Yeah,
Right,
So-
right.
Just bring some of the beavers over from
where?
I thought they're over there in the Corbett Road.
No beavers in Corbett.
Not anymore. Got rid of them all.
They moved upstream or something.
Got sick of that.
They watched our meeting on the beaver deceivers, and they said, we're gonna deceive them.
They were good.
Green Mountain Beavers is
They waste their money there.
All right, so 6:39, the other thing was the sign, so I'll just say that we got the signs in, the digital speed signs, and we're still waiting for one solar bracket, not the bracket, but the solar panel. I did talk with Brian, our deputy sheriff that does radar, and I talked to Russ, and we kind of talked about the speed zone or the school zone sign, like just past the new breakfast sandwich place at 77 Pleasant Valley. And as you're heading towards the school, there's kind of a leaned over school zone sign. So I think the thought was maybe prop up the speed zone or the school zone sign, get a speed limit sign there, and maybe mount it there as they're entering the school zone, was a
Yes.
thought.
Yes. We want to try to get the traffic to slow down before they get to the school. So wherever that sweet spot is that you guys come up with, that's my idea, is that you want to try to, not that the kids are playing on that side of the school, but, you know.
Yeah, that's another thing that Brian brought up. He goes, well, every time I run radar down there, I never see any kids. That could be true, but what he did also say that he loves to set up after those speed zone signs, because now there's no excuse for the person he pulls over. So he can say, did you see the school zone sign? Didn't you see the digital display? So it makes his case better to issue a ticket. So, and tickets do go up dramatically in a school zone. So that was one thought, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thought was back to Poker Hill, as you're coming south, just before you get to the water tower on the pavement, right where it turns to 25, is to just south of Blakey Road, would be to set one there. So before people start to pop over the hill, they'll get a reminder that they're.
Yes to both. Somewhere around either before or just past Mark Mayhew's.
It'd be before, 'cause
Much
that's where the
before, yeah.
25, and I don't know,
On
maybe
top of
Russ,
the hill.
you got an idea. It's kind of nice to do it at the transition, don't you?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Because that is going to be where it's 25.
Right. It's where it goes from 35 to 25.
Right, so I think that those are two spots that I had in my mind. Because that's where I get most of the phone calls that I receive about that and up near Harvey Road. So,
And we still have the one, the portable one, which is up on Beartown now.
the
So
speeding going on Beartown.
we can, no, actually, Russ witnessed some speeding.
Oh, we asked, when we cut some brush in the road the other day, Mrs. Thomas asked about possibly putting a speed bump in by her house, because the traffic does go quite fast at times. She thought maybe the brush would help. Maybe cutting the brush may make them go faster. And I told her maybe we could do some research on one, but the more thinking about it, a speed bump is probably not the best idea on a hill. After talking with the guys, that, you got a slippery road and somebody's sliding and then hit a speed bump, and that just is probably not good. And for plowing and whatnot. So I did tell her that I would put up the speed sign above her house, just to maybe, because it does work, I said. So she was very appreciative of that. And so we got done up there Monday. Tuesday, I put it up, and I went up and turned around, and coming back to the car, first car coming down was doing 50. So it's like, wow, first car, it's going 50 and it's 25 through there. So if anything more, hopefully it'll slow people down for a short time while we have the sign up there. They do work.
Yeah, so I programmed that one. Russ has been setting it up around, but I haven't been recording speeds. But this one, we're going to record the speed. I'll have a report for you next time to look at.
I hope that when it comes to budget time, I hope that we repeat this process. I hope the voters will support that and we can get additional signs, because I think that, a lot of people are concerned about people tooling along.
It'll be interesting to get see how these work and see how big they are and how they.
Whether it's a permanent thing or if we should get another mobile one or whatever, type of thing. I'd just be curious to see how receptive folks are to these, devices, and kind of go from there.
I'm looking forward to the solar one, because batteries last about a week, and then it takes a day to charge them, and it's not a big deal by any means, but
Right.
it still takes time to do it. And
Yep.
but it's kind of neat to put them up in different places and just watch for a minute, and it's like, those people do have brakes on their cars because they're using them when they see it. But I was surprised the first car was doing 50 down Beartown.
That's fast.
That is fast. That's just coming right down to the bottom right there. So
Yeah,
we'll put it on Range Road next.
steep.
All right.
Yeah, that's Range Road is a lot more open than that road.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think 25 is appropriate for Range Road, for the record.
Yeah.
But that road certainly.
It's definitely improved
wide,
there right
eh?
now. It's wider now because we got it nice and clean. Looks really good.
Not gonna hit the mirrors anymore with the brush?
I wouldn't say you won't hit them. Definitely will not be as bad, that's for sure.
Good.
But at the end of Beartown, you can see clearly all the way up past the town hall and all the way down to the stop sign by the church now.
Yep, looks good.
Feel really good about that.
All right, 6:45, so we've got a Vermont Gas and a access permit to work in the right of way of Park Street. And it's where Gert's Beauty Shop was. There's a conversion from Gert's Beauty Shop to a year-round residence. And I asked Vermont Gas if they were gonna be working in the pavement, and then they're not. Russ and I swung by, took a look at it. It's just working on the lawn, so they just need to tap into the main and then run a service.
Is that gonna be an owner occupied dwelling?
Yes. Yeah, not a rental. Owner occupied. So, so typically you just, you saw in your packet, pretty straightforward.
There wasn't a year-round home before?
No, it was a beauty shop.
Yeah, I know. But
Nobody lived in there.
Oh, really?
No.
And,
Just a-
I thought it was
3+ generations went to get their haircut from Gert.
yeah, I know, a home with a beauty shop in front.
Well, it's not that big. So,
I don't know, it's even
You don't go there to get your hair cut, Dan? You didn't go there?
She would have done a nice job.
so anyway, I guess it's just like a motion to accept the access permit or the temporary access permit to work in the right of way. And there's a document or
Motion to accept the temporary access permit for Vermont Gas to work on Park Street in Underhill.
I'll second that.
Be faster.
Any discussion?
Good idea.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
and do you see the
That motion
document there?
carries
Dan?
3-0.
You just sign, it's probably below that.
Hopefully they don't do that when, between like 7:30 and 8:30 and 2:30.
They're gonna be off the road. They're gonna be off the road.
Yeah, they're right off the road.
They're on the lawn. So,
Works for me.
I put a little sticky there, just sign in that dark area there. Yes.
You just stamp.
And slide it over to me if you get it done. So, if you remember, Pine Ridge, there's this orphan stormwater program. And there's 2 roads that we own, Pine Ridge being one of them and Mount Vista being the other. We actually own the roadbed. So we don't have a right of way, we own it. So both these projects were Act 250, and it was during a transitional period with stormwater. So there's it's called kind of an orphan stormwater program. So we had to do the 5-year renewal on Pine Ridge. We did that, turned out great. You guys went out and did some work, passed with flying colors. We had Krebs and Lansing do that, do all the paperwork and do the inspection. So Mount Vista, Kurt has been doing the annual reporting, which is great. But now we're up for a 5-year renewal next year. So I reached out, I talked to Kurt about it. I said, I really appreciate you doing it. And he had a friend of his who was an engineer, would come and kind of sign off on it. And I just don't think that's the type of practice we need to have. So I'm suggesting, I reached out to Krebs and Lansing again for a proposal. It's pretty much the same proposal. They'll take care of all the paperwork and the red tape, and it is quite a bit of it. Do the inspection. That way we'll have a separate party continue that work. As somebody you can call on. Krebs and Lansing's been in existence for 45 years. So I'm assuming they're going to keep on. So now future generations will be able to just call on them and it'll get done. So this is nothing time sensitive, but it's a contract. And there may be, so what they'll do is do the same thing. Scott Homestead, the engineer, he'll go do his first inspection. They'll say, well, you should really tune up these areas here. If there's any tuning up that needs to be done, then photographs are taken. He does all his analysis and signs off on it. So, and I think it's a very fair price.
So you need a motion to accept?
Accept the proposal, yes.
Motion, so moved. Motion to accept the proposal as presented in the packet.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I agree, Brad. This sounds like a very professional way to proceed. I support it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and I appreciate Kurt, he's just classic. He does so much all the time, volunteering his time, and he lives there, right? So he lives on Mount Vista, so it kind of feels like he has
Some
stake in it.
ownership there, yeah.
Right. But he, after I talked to him about it, he says, yeah, you're probably right. And he's just one less thing off his plate.
Yeah, it's good to have a backup, that there's somebody that we can go to if something goes wrong.
Well, and Kirk can share all the history with the engineering firm, so it'll be good.
It will be good. All in favor?
Aye.
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 That motion carries 3-0.
The next thing is the grants and aid. This is last year's grants and aid, so it's part of the municipal stormwater permit, and we get monies from them. And this was some work that's already been done on Lower English. We had 2 segments that they worked on and some ones on Poker Hill. The state decided, since there was so much trouble with flooding this summer, they decided to extend the grant period. So instead of, even though we're done, and instead of just saying, oh, we're all set, I just figured, let's just sign this grant extension, make it easy for them, so they don't have to keep track of, it's not gonna, it just gives us another year, but the work has been done. So we're gonna submit for reimbursement. We're ready to do that now. But
And what about the middle portion? We're gonna still do some work up there?
that's
a different grant?
next fiscal year. That's in, well, it's actually in this fiscal year, but we're gonna do it in the spring. Right?
I thought it was next fiscal year. It was in next year's plan. It's the different better back roads, right?
Yeah. Do we have
I
that?
thought that's how I took it, was that we didn't do that middle section. That's going to be done next year. But maybe it's.
I was kind of thinking about, yeah. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that, but that's another phase. That's another phase. I get confused sometimes.
We're going to have to put the speed limit sign up there once we get that middle one done.
But that's really a nice job.
Thank you.
I've said that before, and that really shines.
Everybody did a really fantastic job up there. We finished it. Actually, we graded and added gravel there, shaped the road, got it widened. Very nice today. Looks fantastic. Proud of it. Yeah, and the homeowners up there are as well.
Good.
Do we have a motion on the table? Do we need one?
You need one just to authorize the chair to sign the grant extension.
So moved.
GA 0442.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Good thing I just signed it.
Good.
For the record.
So 6.
Zoning and planning
Yes.
update.
Right. So we have a potential candidate, and I have a recommendation from the Planning Commission. So I'm not going to mention any names or who it is. They were away for an extended period of time. They're back now. I haven't connected with them, but I'm going to suggest that the select board interview them with possibly Sherry and Jennifer. The first interview happened between Charlie, Brian, and myself. Planning Commission's recommended. It's not, I need to connect with this person, but I said they just got back yesterday from a very long extended vacation. So I'd like to set up a time for you to meet this person. But then also Jennifer is very close to having the radio ad complete. So we're kind of wondering, kind of think that we still should go through with that. It's not a sure thing here with this person.
So how much is the radio ad again?
Oh, I can't remember what it was, but it was a little bit more than what one ad was in 7 days.
700.
It was like, yeah.
And how often do
They'll play it for 3 weeks, but if we
Every
so
day,
much a week, every day, yeah, every day, a couple times a day, I think.
Huh.
So Jennifer mocked up a thing, and I thought it was really good. She did a nice job with it, but we can, before we air anything, we certainly share it with all of you.
Yeah, I think that we ought to review it. I heard it. I liked it.
It got fine tuned from there.
And I would suggest that prior to the current, I'm back to the current applicant,
Mhm.
meet with the whole select board, that meet with Jennifer and Sherry along with one select board person, so that we can do it quickly and not have a warned meeting and not try to get 3 schedules together. And then with the whole select board. What do you think?
Nope.
You think that we all should
Yep.
pile on
Yep.
an initial one?
Yep.
And it could be a special meeting. We can just set it up for, let me reach out to Patty, I'm sorry, did you have a thought?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm away beginning October 9th through the 7th. So that may throw up a bit of a things.
Okay. So let me reach out to this person. I'd left them a message, but they were away, and he actually shot me a text and said that he was away till yesterday. So I'll reach out and see what their schedule is, and then maybe we can try to schedule something. But would you want them to continue on, Patty, without you, or?
Yeah, if the schedule is such that it is in the time frame that I'm in Minnesota, go ahead with the interview.
Okay, so stay tuned, I guess.
So you're gone on the 9th, correct?
Yep, leaving on the.
Okay, that gives us next week, if that works out for this person.
Mhm.
I'd hold off on the radio. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I guess it's the sense of, I mean, you guys have met with them, so I don't want you to feed somebody up the chain if you got any sense like they're not going to work out. I'm anticipating that if you guys are moving it up, that this is somebody that's worthwhile and they're going to be a good fit and everything like that.
Well, Charlie and Brian approved.
Right? So
That's moving it up.
right.
So,
I agree.
yeah, and they've felt strongly about it, and he's obviously a very qualified candidate. So I'll leave it at that because I don't want to get into too much detail.
Correct.
But all right, so we'll get it scheduled up.
So
I'll reach out.
schedule it up and then hold on the radio ad.
Okay.
Yeah, because we want to review it anyway.
Yeah,
No,
makes sense. It's a week's not going to hurt anything.
Jennifer did a real nice job.
Okay, here we are, 20 minutes ahead of schedule at closing public comment.
And seeing no one for closing public comment, we can move on to warrants and minutes.
Dun, dun, dun.
In that case, I move that we approve the payroll warrants for 9/28/2023. Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Is there discussion?
They'd like to get paid.
All in favor? Aye.
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 3-0. The motion passes. I move that we approve the AP warrants for 9/28/2023. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries 3-0. Minutes for Thursday, September 14th. That would be the regular select board meeting. Any questions? Is there a motion to accept?
So move.
If any changes?
Move to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second that. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye. See that.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries to 3-0. Any correspondence?
I have three things.
Okay.
Number one, longtime resident for, I believe, more than 50 years, Marie Tedford, has passed away. And I know they're going to be doing a celebration of life type thing here at the town hall in a week or two. I think it's the 8th of October from 2 to 5. And I know my condolences certainly go out to Ted and the entire Tedford family. She was people that never had the pleasure of knowing Marie. She was a fantastic lady, and she will be surely missed.
Indeed.
Attended the harvest market this past weekend, and I was asked about the Jersey barrier that seems to be still up on Upper English Settlement Road, and was wondering if those are going to be removed anytime soon, or if they're going to stay there as a permanent fixture, or what the story is with the Jersey barrier. So that was a correspondence, and I said I didn't know, but I would certainly pass that on and kind of go from there. But apparently there's some Jersey barriers up on Upper English Settlement Road, and I'm not sure. I believe that they were installed so that in the wintertime people would not be able to go from upper to lower.
It's right at the top of the hill?
Yeah,
They're off to the side there?
they're off to the side now, but they
On Upper English?
Yes. That's
You
what,
remove those.
There was one at the bottom of, or at the top of Lower English. There was one that was stuck off to the side on the right that we removed when we started the stormwater project and got rid of that.
apparently there's another one that's on, oh golly, what's the guy's name? At the top of the hill there.
Boardman's?
Boardman's. Apparently there's one near Boardman's still.
So
So
be in the weeds there or something.
I've never seen it, I guess.
I don't know, but anyway, apparently it's up there, and I was asked about it. So Alicia Weber was the one that questioned me about it, and I said I didn't know. I don't typically go up Upper English Settlement Road unless I have to for a fire call or something like that. But I haven't laid eyes on it, so I don't know if you know anything about it
Been
or
up
whatever.
through there a dozen times in the last week, and I'll take a look, I guess.
I don't know. And then the final thing is I saw Steve Ferreira at the harvest market. Steve, also a longtime resident, lives up on Sam Ward Road, and he commented how wonderful job that the road crew is doing, and really wanted accolades out to Dwayne for all the work that he's done for the years plowing and taking care of Sam Ward Road. So I wanted that to go on the record as well. And with all of that, I thought it was important that people go to the harvest market, and I'm wondering if it makes any sense for the town of Underhill to maybe have maybe a booth, or have some folks from different commissions or whatever to be present there, so that they could get other people to be engaged with the town of Underhill, whether it be the Historical Society or
I visited
planning or
the
zoning,
Historical Society booth.
the conservation group, or the various other groups that are in town, to try to get people engaged in civics here in the town of Underhill. I don't know if that would make any sense at all to have, a booth. I think that might be something that we may want to consider, doing, and seeing if there's anybody that would like to, try to put something like that together for the other groups that are part of the town. That's it.
One booth shared by,
Well, yeah, I mean, if you had different people from different committees or whatever that, the recreation department, maybe they would want to have, somebody there that, present what the programs that they offer, throughout the year, and they're always looking for somebody to participate with the recreation department or whatever, type of thing. I thought was be a good way for people to, find out what's going on in town, and, the opportunities that are available.
yeah, they had a really nice setup for the Historical Society.
Right.
I worked a couple hours there. So, yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
So I think that, I know the fire department has something,
Yeah.
Historical Society, just like, I think there's other departments that, we may want to encourage, that if they wanted to do something like that, that maybe, we would encourage, maybe we, when it's coming up to budget time, maybe we'd want to, set aside some money in there, or be part of the select board's fund there, to say that, maybe we'd want to have an outreach, type of thing. I don't know. It's just an idea.
Yeah, we've got a reserved spot kind of early.
Right.
But you could put a panel together, and it could be like, oh, here's the planning commission, and here's the DRB, and here's the conservation rec committee, and you could have a nice panel and kind of maybe encourage people to participate. Probably not a bad idea.
Nice idea.
Yeah.
Can I say something under correspondence?
Mm-hmm.
I just like to say that since I've started in this position, which I really enjoy, I'm getting tremendous support from the road crew, Dwayne, Scott, top-notch guys. They do a fantastic job. The morale is wonderful. Brad's been very helpful. Jen, Sherry, Mandy, everybody's good. And I just appreciate that very much, getting a lot of support from townspeople. We're getting cookies, we're getting popcorn, we're getting, thanks for grading our road, just going very, very well. And just want you guys all to know that things are going good, and everybody seems to be very happy. We've got some great part-timers that have been helping us, and we're getting a lot of work done, and makes our job enjoyable, and everybody seems to be enjoying things. And but just wanted you guys to know that it's going very well.
Yeah.
Glad to hear.
All right, well, so that brings us to 7:09, and there's an executive session here, tentative.
Do we have, did Jennifer give us a folder?
I could go along.
I think there is a piece that we're supposed to address,
Yeah,
that was supposed to be addressed last time.
yeah, we didn't have the information.
Right.
And I have mentioned that to Jennifer.
I wasn't involved in any correspondence. Let me look here.
Well, Patty.
Yeah.
I think you know what this is about.
I do?
Yeah, I do. So I'm gonna move that I authorize Dan Steinbauer to take care of some unfinished personnel business that needs to be taken care of, and authorize him to, increase, a wage proposal for a town employee as previously discussed, based upon the report that's gonna be coming from, our finance. I guess I just want to go on the record now so that, I think it's all been finalized. It's just a matter of having that final report and executing that. And I feel
And the
comfortable giving that to
numbers
you. Right.
which Jen, compiles anyway. And it made sense when we first glanced at it.
Right. But I don't have that data in front of me, so I don't know the numbers, but the preliminary numbers I saw I thought were reasonable.
If it's the position that I'm thinking of, I support it too.
So that's a second.
Okay. Any other discussion
We're all
on
on the
that?
same page.
We are now.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so no need for an executive session.
We just did it.
Well, sort of. Let's not say that.
So you can do that, right? You're gonna be around, you're not.
Yeah,
anyway.
I can confer, because we've talked about it already, and.
Right. I think it's just more the formality right now.
Mhm, correct.
All right, so if there's nothing else, it's 7:12 and.
I'm really disappointed. Maybe we gotta wait till 8:00.
And
The
just
only
to
other thing I guess,
remind everybody, I won't be at the next select board meeting because I'll be in Minnesota at a mushing boot camp.
Thank you for that advance notice.
Frostbite Falls
We will-
awaits you.
We will carry on.
It'll be cold. The town is in good hands.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7:12.